I have like 30 bones to pick with The Will of the Many. And like this last one just sent me over the edge. So I need to just record it right now and talk about it. I wrote down them so that I don't forget because that's how intensely I feel about this. It's just so difficult too because I'm reading The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan, which is the second book in the Wheel of Time series, kind of intermittently in this. I'm only about 12% into that book, but it is such a stark contrast to this one that it's almost unfair. So here's the problems that I have with The Will of the Many. There is way too many references to modern things or to things that happen in our world. As far as I know, 55% of the way into the book, this is not a world that is in our world. This isn't a future world for us. This isn't anything. It's not our world. So references to things that are here or like modern things takes me out of the story so quickly. I think the problem too that I'm having is that I went into this thinking it was a fantasy novel when this is for sure a sci-fi novel. And I think, or at least that's how I'm viewing it. That's how it is for me. For me, fantasy books are mostly ones that deal with more magic and more like The Great Hunt is a classic fantasy novel. And this just, the transvect feels like an airplane. Like it just feels too high tech to be classified as fantasy. I think that this is a sci-fi novel. And I think going into it, no, like with that expectation would have made it a lot better for me reading this because I thought I was getting an ancient Rome inspired novel. And it's like, yes, he thought of ancient Rome a little bit with like the weird naming, but that's the extent of the ancient Rome as far as I know. The lack of Roman things, like, so I'm going to back up all the things I'm saying. The modern stuff, Viz eats pancakes. And like, I understand that they're probably like pancakes have been a thing forever, but I just think the name pancake that immediately took me out of the story. That feels way too modern, way too like I order pancakes at the diner down the street, you know? The measurements, him using miles and feet to describe everything. Like I'm into it, and he's describing how something is 300 feet tall and 500 feet wide, and he had to swim a whole mile to get to the school. Like, I understand wanting to use stuff like that to keep it so the readers can understand how big something is and how wide something is and how long it took. But there are other ways, like The Great Hunt, The Wheel of Time does it, where it is like 8 paces long, or like there are other ways to do it. And this, in my opinion, is not the way. Why are there knights? Knights are a medieval thing. So if this is an ancient Rome, ancient Greece inspired thing, there shouldn't be any knights, right? So I'm 55% of the way in. I just got to the chapter where he's inside. I'm going to try and be as vague as possible. He's inside the red dome type thing. And let me just read you the sentence. 2 rows of massive columns stretch from floor to vaulted ceiling, making the space appear almost cathedral-like. Cathedral-like? They have their own religion They have their own gods, multiple gods. And last I checked, cathedrals are a Catholic thing, right? Why is there reference to Catholic buildings in a fictional world where Catholicism never existed? Am I wrong in all of this? Like, am I just an angry, grouchy old lady at this point who's read too many books? Am I being too harsh? Or are all of the things I'm saying valid? I think that's just where I'm sitting at right now. Those were my gripes for the time being. I'm going to continue reading because I want to know how this ends. I'm curious. Like, the mystery aspect of it is really interesting to me. It's just the little things, the little details that tie back to this world really take me out of it. And this is my argument on why we need more editors. Because I think another editor or spending longer time editing something would have caught this. Or am I being ridiculous? Let me know. Am I being ridiculous? It just takes me out of the story. So I don't know. I'm going to keep reading though. We'll see how it goes. I'll keep you all updated on how it is. Nope. I'm not done. I forgot something. It took me to the 49% mark to really start getting invested in the story. Now I'm interested. Now I'm intrigued. I just, why did everything take so long? It seems like, okay, I wrote more notes about this too. So, okay. I said, I like the book now. I feel like the beginning could have been a lot shorter than it was. So much happened that, yes, is establishing Viz and the characters and the world and stuff, but there were so many characters that we met in passing or very briefly. The only characters that show up now are Ulcerus, I don't know how to pronounce his name, and Lanistecia. But before that, it was the guy who he worked at the jail with, and the weird bully kid at the orphanage, and the matron of the orphanage, and the lady who runs the fighting ring. There were so many characters that we met. The guy who does the bets. All of those characters gone. Useless. It was a waste of time. It was interesting to read, but that's not really the story. The story starts basically when he gets to the school. Why did it take 50% for this guy to get to the actual story? Why are we 50% in and now the story's actually beginning? Why introduce us? Why spend all of that time creating these characters for none of them to matter? For us to see them just one time? I don't know. I'm angry and irritated, but I'm going to keep reading and we'll see if anything changes. Okay, I'm reading more. And I think the reason I have such a gripe with all of this stuff is it feels like laziness. If you have to describe something as cathedral-like, that's either a lack of skills in describing the actual thing, you don't have the vocabulary, or you just don't want to. Saying something like that, it does feel lazy. That's why I have such a problem with it, I think. She's so cute. You're the